All right, everyone, I just want to go through the carrier qualifications. This is a pretty simple slide. And I also want to let you all know that I do have a breakdown on each of these documents and what they look like in a separate video, just in case. So before onboarding, you need to request this paperwork from your carrier. So some of this paperwork will be for your own internal use and others will be external. So you'll need this so that your clients can take loads from brokerages. So let's begin with external paperwork. Uh-oh. So we have the MC Authority DOT, MC DOT number. So this document will or your carrier will receive in the mail after their MC number has been approved or once their application has been approved. So usually is between 2 to 3 weeks after they submit their application and are able to submit their BOC3 and insurance or proof of those two. Um, Looks like this. Also can be downloaded from the website. MC Authority just allows a carrier to move freight across state lines. So it is possible to operate without an MC number as long as you have a DOT number and don't move freight across state lines. A document will also have the DOT number on it. So as a dispatcher, you need to have this MC cert on file. As a self dispatcher, also need to have this on file somewhere that is accessible to you. So COI is the certificate of insurance. You will probably need to request a ton of these with different cert holders, and I've kind of gone through that in a separate video. But just contains a complete breakdown of the type of insurance coverage a tracking company has, policy number. So for brokerages, this information is super important because you typically have multiple policies under one certificate of insurance. So, for example, you might have auto liability, general, and motor truck cargo. You might also have refrigerated breakdown insurance, right? So, add-ons like hazmat coverage can also be on there. So they do need that, and it'll all just list it here. So when you request the carrier's insurance document, so when you ask them to send you a copy of their insurance, make sure it's in this format. Brokers will not accept like the cab cards. They don't have the breakdown of the insurance policies, so not an acceptable form of insurance for submitting to freight brokerages. And then W-9. So this is the kind of request for taxpayer certificate. Brokerages will require this. Sometimes it will require a like physical copy, so one that has been filled out prior and has been signed by the carrier prior. And other times it'll be in this electronic format on like RMIS or My Carrier Packets or Highway, right? On these like onboarding packages. So when you request the document, just make sure that it's filled out completely. EIN, legal owner's name, signature, all the good stuff. And then if you do want to, for example, what I like to do is keep some information from the EINs. So I like to save the EIN and put it in a kind of note template. Just because when I'm filling these packets online, it's usually going to ask me for the employee identification number that pertains to the company anyways. So um, just keep that kind of in that same area in that same folder. And then the EIN. So carriers sometimes have an issue finding their EIN. EIN is issued by the IRS. So, for example, if I submitted my own LLC filing, um, I might have submitted that to the state, but I would still need to submit a request for an EIN to the IRS. I will kind of point you to my affiliate for that. Every affiliate link that you select helps me and helps me maintain free kind of education for all of us on this platform. But yeah, essentially the EIN provided by the IRS, you can do it online or they can do it online. They can also call in if they don't have their EIN already. It's basically a social security number for the business. Next, we have the notice of assignment. Notice of assignment kind of looks like this. Also went through that in a separate video. So carrier needs a factoring company. Oh, sorry. If the carrier needs a factoring company, they're going to need to obtain an NOA or a notice of assignment, also known as a notice of assignment from the factoring company to provide to the brokerage. So usually looks similar to the image on the right. It's just letterhead. So document shows brokers that the carrier has an agreement with a factoring company. So factoring companies will, so usually sought out by the carrier. We have a partner factoring company, and I'll talk about that um, in a second. So typically, these factoring agreements basically say, "Hey, carrier shipper would take 30 days to pay out the carrier directly, or a freight broker is going to take 30 days to pay out the carrier directly. Anyways, we will buy this invoice from you, provided we have all of the documents necessary to invoice the freight broker directly for a fee, and then just make sure that the broker pays us so you don't get paid twice on it, right? Or else you will get charged back." So some brokerages don't require this document. Usually, you just have to tell them that which factoring company you're using. It'll be an option from the drop down menu. So company check. If your carrier decides not to use a factoring company for their invoices, they'll just need to obtain a company check, so from their bank, or a direct deposit form, so they can be paid out on that. And then sometimes you'll also need pictures of your client's trailer. So super common with 53-foot dry vans, especially if they're doing, let's say, like energy drink loads or any sort of kind of food grade kind of loads. They kind of want to make sure that your floorboard is nice. I've seen kind of that complaint. I've also seen, if you look to the side, these E-tracks on this trailer. I don't know if you can see that. Those are those gray um, kind of metal. How should I say that? Kind of metal. I'm trying to think of the word, but kind of those long metal strips that are running across that trailer. They're going vertical. Sometimes they're going to want the pictures that show that the E tracks are horizontal, right? Also, they'll want to verify food grade. So for the pictures of the inside of the trailer, make sure that you have good lighting. Sometimes they also want a picture of the side of the trailer showing the company's MC number and the trailer number or the truck number. This is just to prevent fraud. If they're asking for pictures outside of the trailer, they want to make sure that the company that you're saying is going to pick up that load will pick up that load, and you're not passing that on to someone else. Again, called double brokering. So let's cover some internal paperwork, and then also should be noted that none of this paperwork will be used for anything other than your own business purposes. Guide to Freight has partnered with Gulf Coast Bank to provide all of our viewers with a factoring rate of 2% or less. Unlike traditional factoring companies, Gulf Coast is entirely self-funded, meaning that they are able to pass these savings along to their customers. If you're interested in signing up, you can do so by clicking the link tree in our channel bio. So we have a carrier profile and agreement. I do find that as a dispatching company, some carriers just have no interest in filling this information out. So it is information that you might want to not send out a form for, but more so just ask the carrier on the phone, right, verbally. Some information you might need are like liftgate, pallet jack, accessories. How you might want to know how the doors open up. Do they have a roll up? Do they have a roll up? How long their trailer is? Additional weight. Do they have pallet jacks, tarps? What type of truck they have, max weight? Kind of this kind of questionnaire is called a carrier profile and agreement. You can create one to send to them. I will be honest, most of the times when you're working with a new carrier, they're not going to send it and they might just ghost you because they just don't want to fill out this form. So you don't need to provide that to anyone. This is just for your own use. So if you feel more comfortable asking them these questions over the phone, just create a note somewhere that you can that will help you keep track of the questions that you're asking them. This quick note. So I kind of go over my quick note template that I have uh, on a separate video, but essentially this little quick note just makes it easy to access information. So when you're working on a packet, let's say for a new freight broker, you're on limited time. Um, Sometimes you need to have the information that would be listed in the documents that we talked about earlier in one place so that you can kind of just copy and paste and move through that packet as quick as possible. If you do take too long to fill out a packet, some brokers will just give it to the next person, and then you've just wasted 10, 15, 20 minutes um, on onboarding for zero reason. So I like to have this quick note, and I like to kind of make sure that I pre-fill it with all of the information on those documents before even working or trying to book any load. So copy of that will be posted to, I guess I can post it to this video as well. And then it'll just link to the blog. Okay. So communicating with your carrier, and then we'll go over a couple of these things, but you just want to make sure that commission structure and services are communicated. So just let them know how much you're going to charge them. If you, for example, sometimes they might try to negotiate the rate with you. That's okay. I mean, you might already have a rate that you like to give out or not. Don't sell yourself short. And then, of course, factoring submission services. So sometimes there are some carriers that just do not like handling anything outside of driving, so they might just pay you an additional percentage to send off all of that, all of those documents, and or they might pay you to follow up on those invoices. So we have some modes of communication. We have WhatsApp Business. That's what I like to use. I like to use that just because I can download the app on my computer, so that I can kind of send off PDF documents, because you will need to send off PDF documents. Those rate confirmations usually need to be signed off. They're going to send you, let's say, like a JPEG or whatever image format of the BOL. So you do kind of want to have some place where you can receive all sorts of documents from like iPhones or Androids. Um, the app will also automatically save all documents. Oh yeah, so WhatsApp kind of keeps a log of all your images and your documents that you've shared, so it makes it easier to go back. Let's say like you can't find let's say your broker requests a bill of lading from like March of 2020, or maybe not that far off, March of 2023. It makes it easy to like go in and try to find it within the chat. So I do like that feature, rate confirmations as well. And then the voice feature makes it easy in case they need to like say something and I just can't reach, or you can't call them in that at that particular time. So carrier questions, and I go through this in another video, but basically, you'll find a list of questions that I always ask my carriers before onboarding, and I'll go through that in a different video. I have not updated this PowerPoint to reflect that, but it's just they're just questions that you ask prior to onboarding. Make sure that you're going to meet their needs and they're going to meet your needs. Okay. And then just make sure that you ask information regarding types of trucks, accessories, and don't forget to ask kind of these important questions regarding trailer type, what they can and can't load, is it food grade, um, swing doors, all that information, and truck and trailer number and dimensions. So we will cover more of that in another video, but for now, that would be carrier qualifications. So all the information you need about a carrier before beginning work with them. Are you interested in earning extra money by using your truck as advertisement space? Well, let me tell you about our partners, Agile Media Group. Agile Media Group is an advertising agency that uses the sides of your truck to promote businesses like T-Mobile, ShipBob, and Mountain Dew energy drinks. They're always looking for new trucking partners to join their advertising campaigns. If you're interested in getting more information, click the link tree in the bio and select the Earn Money by Advertising option to get started. So in this video, I just want to go over some carrier onboarding documents. If you are dispatching for others, you'll want to collect these documents from them. If you are self-dispatching, you'll want to have these documents on hand at all times. So I like to create a new folder for each carrier so that I can access these documents easily. So all freight brokerages are going to require that you submit these documents, and they're also going to require information from these documents. So when you're filling out a packet online, they'll typically ask information for information that's inside of these documents, which is why I've created this little note template. And I like to pull information from from these documents and place that into that template so that it's accessible. It keeps me from having to open these documents each time to pull certain information out. So, for example, on that W-9, I usually want to pull out that EIN number. So, just in case I'm filling out that packet online, um, I have this number and can place it into the electronic version of the W-9. Let's see. A couple of other things, like for example, the COI contact information. So, if I need a new certificate of insurance from my insurance agent, I typically want to have their contact information um, that's somewhere accessible so that I don't have to reopen the COI and find that each time. So let's kind of break down these documents and what they look like. So we have the certificate of authority. Okay. So this is given to us by the FMCSA, usually mailed to the carrier when their MC application is approved. Looks like this. Has kind of the MC number that we'll place over here, DOT number that we'll place over here. Um, if it is not mailed to you, you can pull it from the FMCSA's website. But yep, looks like this. And so brokers are going to require this. And then COI. So this is the certificate of insurance. And it needs to be in this format. And the reason for that is they need the breakdown of the policies that you have. When you work with freight brokers, you're typically required to have multiple policies. One of the big ones, one of the policies that they require is the motor truck cargo. So that's kind of your cargo insurance. So each time you're hauling, right, the your insurance covers up to $100,000 on whatever is loaded. So that's the 100K, and then you have that commercial general liability that is sometimes required, or that is required. So they just kind of want that breakdown. Sometimes you can also find like the reefer breakdown insurance on here as well. So they just want to make sure that every policy that you have is listed in one space. Typically, they aren't going to accept an insurance card. They'll want this COI. There's a couple of ways to obtain this, but the most common way is by reaching out to your insurance agent using this information. Typically, they have an email address specific that they use to specifically handle those COI requests. So I like to pull that information, place it there. Policy number as well. I like to pull that and place it over here. And then you'll have just standard insurance agent contact saying that my company is covered, or this is my COI. Then over here, you'll see the certificate. Let me move this over. Over here, you'll see the certificate holder information. So each time you work with a freight broker or a new freight broker, they are going to require that you place their company under the certificate holder slot. And so you'll do that by shooting a message over to your insurance agent or logging into your portal and entering the freight broker's information. And they'll usually give you the exact way that they want that entered. So they'll shoot that over. You'll send that request over to your insurance agent, and they will update your COI. And so, yeah, it'll happen for each new freight broker that you work with. And then, yeah, just kind of looks like that. And so it's called an Accord or a certificate of insurance. Guide to Freight has partnered with Tula to help you start your business. If you click on the link tree in our channel bio, you can book a free consultation with them, and they will help you determine the best business structure for your business. Now let's get back to the video. COI looks like that. And then we have the NOA, which is a notice of assignment. So this is provided to us by the factoring company. So if your carrier can't find this, all they'll have to do is reach out to their factoring company. So this is kind of a fake one that I've created, but they all kind of look similar to this. So it's letterhead. All it's basically saying is my carrier is going to get paid by, or the carrier is going to be paid out by the factoring company. And this gives the factoring company permission to bill out the invoices to the freight broker. So all payments from the freight broker should be submitted to the factoring company because they've already paid you out on this. Quick breakdown on that is essentially most shippers take about 30 days to pay. Typically, you want a factoring company so that you don't have to wait those 30 days. They will take a percentage and then um, they will take a percentage and then they will bill the broker out. Um, you do not want to get paid twice for it. So the last thing you want is for your factoring company to pay you and then the freight broker to pay you. One, because that's fraudulent, and two, because you're going to end up getting charged back by your factoring company anyways, and it's not pleasant. I've seen it happen on accident, and then someone's negative thousands of dollars in their account, and they are responsible for paying that. And then, of course, the W 9. So, W 9 right here. And so, first line, second line, my contact or my name, my business name. Third line is going to relate to the type of company that I have. Fifth line and sixth line are address. And then over here we have the EIN number. So that's the unique identifier number to my company. You will request this from the IRS. So um, if your carrier is having trouble finding it, or if you're having trouble finding it, typically you'll just want to reach out to the company that create or the company that you use to create your company. That's a little confusing, or the agent that you use to create your company. If you created your company by yourself and just let's say you only selected the option for creating the company, you still need to obtain that EIN number, and you can do that directly from the IRS's website. And then you just want to sign off here, or the carrier will need to sign off here and date. And you do want a copy of that. Sometimes these carrier packets, these carrier packets will require an electronic version of this, which is totally fine. All you just want to do is make sure that you have that EIN number and then this kind of information somewhere accessible. So I'd like to place that here so that I'm not having to reopen the document when I'm filling out my carrier packets. And then finally, on this kind of template, this is typically, so this information won't be really needed. That's more for your own reference. But you do want to have your company name or the company name of the carrier, address, MC number, DOT number, EIN, phone number, and email on hand, as well as the insurance policy information. So agent email, phone number, and policy number. RMIS ID and zip code. So after you fill out your first packet with RMIS, you'll receive this in an email. So you do want to copy and paste that over. The zip code I like to paste over, even though sometimes we think like, okay. If you're looking for a fuel card, look no further than our partner, A2B. With A2B, you can see average savings of 46 cents and up to $1.85 per gallon. That's not their only perk. A2B's high security provisions help prevent fraud, and their fuel cards report to credit agencies that help you build business credit. If you're ready to sign up, or if you need more information, click on the link tree in the bio and select the A2B fuel card option. So I'll put that in a separate, I'll put the template in a blog post so that you can download that. So that is the breakdown of kind of what these documents look like and the information that you need from these documents. So you do just want to make sure that you keep all that information or all those documents in one place so you can access them. And then this template isn't necessary, but it will make your life easier. And because freight brokers do expect you to fill out these carrier packets quickly if you want to take a load and you're not already onboarded, having this will make that easier. That way you're not missing out on a load because you took a little too long to fill out that carrier packet. All right. All right, let's go over Broker 101. Okay, so aside from our clients, brokers are the most important people that you'll talk to. Without them, it's going to be very hard to get some loads, right? So in this presentation, I just kind of want to break down the most important questions that people have regarding freight brokers and freight brokerages. So I'll walk you through those important documents that your carrier will receive from those brokerages as well. Sorry, that was rate confirmation BOL kind of mainly. So first, what does a freight broker do? A freight broker helps shippers fulfill their orders. So they do this by committing to finding truckers to haul shippers' freights. So they usually are going to win a bid for these loads, and then they're going to temporarily pay the driver, and then obviously get that money back from the shipper. Typically, a freight broker might have access to freight across many U.S. cities, especially if they're at a larger freight brokerage, and they may have many different shipping company or shipping clients. If they are a larger freight broker, or if they are a freight broker at a larger brokerage, it is possible that they have freight for many different truck types. So normal for them to have reefer in their system, box truck in their system, flatbed in their system, etc. So, how do I work with a freight broker? So, every brokerage has its own rules regarding taking on new clients. Typically, rules are pretty easy to follow, and they include having all qualification paperwork, being in service for a set amount of time, might be 30 days, might be 60 days, might be 180 days. Having active insurance and passing the necessary inspections. Some might require more inspections. Some Yeah, some may require more safety inspections than like what you typically get in a year. So most freight brokerages will not accept carriers with an MC that has been active for less than 3 months. There are some freight brokerages that will, and I actually have created a blog post that contains all of those, and I will attach that to this video so that you can get onboarding with kind of some of those brokers that do accept new carriers. Still worth trying, especially if you've got like a unique truck type. Let's say you have a reefer box truck. Sometimes, in my experience, they might bump you up. Say you're at 78 days, and they'll say, you know what, whatever, I'll override you in the system. But don't expect it, okay? So easiest way to find new freight brokers is by using the load board. Also, the 50 freight broker blog post that I have on my website, guide2freight.com, guide2freight dash es.com. So most freight brokerages post their loads onto these load boards. I use DAT, or I've used DAT historically. I've always just used DAT for my main load board. But I mean, they're going to post on every other load board as well. So maybe Truck Stop. There's another one, something Cloud. Can't really think of the name off the top of my head, but included in these load postings are the broker contact info, email address, and phone number. And then once you get onboarded, or once you've accepted the load, they will send over the onboarding package through email, and then that'll go through your qualifications. But they'll check out the qualifications prior to you accepting the load. So let's say I call in, I'm at 80 days. They'll run my MC and make sure that I'm going to meet their qualifications before they move on, or they move forward with my request. So if it's your first time working with a broker, you'll have to fill out that broker carrier packet. So it's usually sent to you through email, through a third party like RMIS carrier, my carrier packets, something along those lines. Sometimes it will be attached. And then I have a different video kind of referencing that. So you'll most likely also need to provide the broker with the COI, right? That has them listed as a shareholder. I've also provided instructions for that. And then they'll send you that information through email. So once you've successfully onboarded, you'll be able to work with them indefinitely unless something happens. And then I do want to make note, brokerages work with these kind of third-party reporting kind of softwares. Good example of one is Carrier 411. So let's say I took a load, did a horrible job, didn't respond. They can report me, and I should be made aware to the email on FMCSA in case I want to fight that claim. But yeah, typically make sure that you're doing your job. There is this network and a way for them to verify that you're doing a good job. So, can I work with all freight brokers? Of course, but you'll want to make sure that they have credit with your carrier's factoring company. So Credit, right? This is a good way to check and see if this is an established brokerage or if there may be like a fraudulent brokerage or a brand new freight brokerage. If they're established, your factoring company will most likely want to work with them. So, or will be already working with them and they will have credit in their system. So let's say I want to submit a load that I did for Landstar Ranger to my factoring company, Gulf Coast. I check their system, they're approved. Landstar's approved. I can submit up to $50,000 worth of invoices from them, right? So that's kind of how it works. So you just need to make sure that you obtain the proper way or obtain the broker credit check website or way to go around it from your factoring company. Every factoring company will has a different way of verifying broker credit checks. So in the event that the broker doesn't have credit with your carrier's factoring company, you can ask them for alternative funding methods like quick pay, and they usually have their own charge. It might be like 4% for like 2 days, and they might charge an additional fee to pay you out. So the other option would be to try and see if your factoring company can give them credit. Okay, so usually you don't want to take a load until you know kind of where you stand on that with that freight broker. So some brokerages won't have credit because they've been accused of double brokering or not paying their loads straight up. So double brokering refers to an illegal taking of a load from another brokerage company and trying to pass it as their own. So for this reason, many dispatchers and carriers stay away from companies without credit. Some people have straight up just not been paid. So factoring companies will usually clarify the reason the brokerage doesn't have credit in their system. So, how does a broker determine the price of a load? So there are many ways that a freight broker determines the price of a load. Let me see here real quick. And I do break them down further in another video, but for the sake of this video, uh, brokers use a number of methods to determine how much they should pay out for a load. So they're going to start off with the last 30 days for a lane. So let's say Phoenix to Houston will have a set kind of average rate per mile for the last 30 days. And like this is data picked up from all brokerages, not just their own. That's going to impact how they quote this lane. So they'll also take the weight into account, the pallet size, what is the commodity. So if it's frozen, refrigerated, if it's hazmat, if it smells, like kind of random things like that to price the load, right? And then typically the higher the weight, the higher they'll need to price the load, right? The heavier the load, the more you waste on diesel. So the lighter the load, typically less pay because it'll consume less fuel. So shipment type, right? So a load may require a specific type of trailer or certification. So, a load that may require a specific type of trailer or certification, like let's say hazardous building materials or foods that need to stay refrigerated, will typically pay more money. Also, like a TWIC, like if you need a TWIC card to enter a port to pick up a load, usually will pay more money because there's less people that have that. If you need to be like TSA certified, another example, or like if you're requiring a U.S. citizen to pick up at an Army base, you'll need to pay more probably, and so they do price accordingly. Um, and then, of course, if any inconveniences are on that load, they'll typically pay more. So, let's say a load requires you to leave the trailer overnight, or a load requires a driver to load or unload, they typically will pay more. Um, they also might typically pay more if let's say, like there's a long, trying to think. Sorry, one second. Like there's a long time frame for loading at a certain warehouse, so they might pay more for that, especially if carriers are rejecting taking work from that warehouse. So, can you negotiate the price of a load with a broker? Of course, you can. You do need to be familiar with the market and um, the market and kind of how that market is priced. I mean, you're not a good ballpark range is maybe asking for $100 to $200 more than you see on the load board if you're not familiar with it. with the like lane pricing. But yeah, you don't want to throw out some number, some arbitrary number. I've seen a couple videos of like people trying to be hot shots, being like, yeah, I'll do it for, it's like listed for $2,500 and it's a decent paying load, and they'll be like, I'll do it for 3,000, right? And then they just don't get the load. Like in real life, some broker would just hang up on you. Like um, I mean, they're using data to price these loads. There's this kind of idea that brokers have like an infinite amount of money behind a load, and it's typically pretty close to kind of the rate per mile, um, especially like in lower times, right? So if the market's doing great, there's probably a good margin and probably have more room for negotiation. But if not, there's probably not. So keep in mind that the more requirements a load has, the more you should be asking to get paid, right? So you don't want to load and unload for the same price. You wouldn't do that on another load, right? Paralysis, we've got you. First ELD is our chosen partner, and their ELD is not only contractless, but easily integrates with Highway, Project 44, Trucker Tools, and MacroPoint. If you're interested in getting more information, click the link. And then you do want to make sure that, oh, right, negotiations can backfire. So, I mean, you kind of want the number in your mind by the time the broker answers the phone. There's going to be 30, 40 people calling on that load. You're not the only person calling on that load. Um, Typically, when I posted a load, I get flooded with messages. It's not fun, but also like I kind of know the ballpark where I want to be at. So you don't want to waste all that time with a carrier, especially if they're not going to agree to the rate because someone else will. So I've taken calls. I guess I've never hung up on anyone, but I've been on the receiving end of someone just hang up on me because I'm like trying to negotiate. So just do know that you're probably not gonna have time to reach out to your carrier. So what happens after I book a load? So after you book a load, you'll receive a rate confirmation, usually a PDF, and we'll go into that as well. You'll need to sign it, right? And then, or the driver will need to sign it. The carrier will need to sign it. You do not want to go to a pickup location unless you have a rate confirmation in hand. It's very common with some freight brokers that they'll just cancel a load and you just got to the site. Let's say maybe you drove 20 miles. And they're like, oh, actually, it just canceled. So you do want to have that rate confirmation in hand, right? Rate confirmation is that agreement saying, we agreed to this. They need to pay me for that. And then if not, I need to get a truck order not used of $150 so that I can go on with my life, but they owe you that much. And then they'll send you that macro point tracking link. So let's switch over and talk about important docs or documents that you'll receive after you booked your load. So we have the rate confirmation, right? Rate confirmation is a receipt and a contractual agreement for an accepted load. It breaks down everything within that load, what you're getting paid for. Are you getting paid for the load, pickup location, where it went, the weight of the load, what was on it, the pickup number, etc., who's paying you, right? So you will not get paid by your factoring company if you do not have your rate confirmation. Rate confirmation is that agreement. Without that rate confirmation, there is no I should be paid for this load. Okay, it is a contract. So it's important to verify that all information on the rate confirmation is accurate before taking the load. Okay. So bill of lading, POD, proof of delivery, BOL, those are kind of the standard names for it. Usually provided by the shipper, and it'll have a breakdown of the contents of the load. If you do not receive one, you will need to fill out a short form BOL or not take the load at all. Do not accept signatures on the rate confirmation. I will also add my affiliate link for the short form BOLs. They're a package of 50 or $10 on Amazon. You shouldn't need maybe more than 4 a year, if I'm being honest. And I think that is the smallest amount that you can get. If you're in a crunch, you can run a Staples and Office Depot to pick them up. But of course, you can support my channel by using the link to buy them. And like I said, you shouldn't need to use more than a few a year, but it'll make sure that you get paid for the load if you are to not receive a BOL at the shipper, which can happen. Typically happens when like a printer is down. Like you just get to the site and the printer is not working. So this has the commodity type, pallet count, weight, and pickup number. So it just lists all that good information. provide, and it has a BOL number specific to the warehouse. So this is your proof. So while the other one is your contract, this is proof, and it needs both signatures at the shipper, so where you pick it up, and at the receiver, where you deliver. So it needs a signature from each one of their employees saying this was done. That is your proof. So short form, this is kind of what we went over, and then you will have to fill it out. I have a separate video where I talk about how to fill that out, so we'll go ahead and move ahead. So lumper receipt. So lumpers are a service used at the receiver or shipper. It's usually not the driver's own discretion or driver's choice to hire a lumper. Usually the warehouse will just throw a lumper on there. So sometimes they're going to require that brokers will require that the carrier pay for the lumpers and then get reimbursed. So you'll have a receipt. Sometimes you'll be able to reach out to the freight broker and be like, "Hey, you need to pay this," and they'll pay that, and you won't be reimbursed for it, obviously. So without a receipt, the broker will not reimburse these costs. And then I kind of went over in another video as well, like a breakdown of what that lumper might look like. So usually they'll be able to add this fee on top of the rate confirmation. You just need to get an updated version of that rate confirmation reflecting your reimbursable fee. Scale ticket, right? So scale ticket looks something like this. It's called a CAT scale usually. So some loads are going to require that the driver weigh their truck before they're loaded or after they're loaded or both. So oftentimes the shipper won't have access to a scale, so the driver will need to drive to a separate weigh station, get on a CAT scale, might pay $10, $15, $25 for that. So just want to keep your ticket and make sure that you bill that to your freight broker so you can get paid by your factoring company and so that they can pay your factoring company. It is all. You should also note that there are occasions where, let's say you did like you have a scale ticket and it's not, and like it is required to pay for the entirety of the load. So like if you do not have a scale ticket, you won't get paid for the $1,500 that you promised. So do not lose it. Keep it in a safe space, or do not let your drivers lose it. My bad. And then, of course, last but not least, macro point. We talk about this a little further in another video, but usually most freight brokers, especially now, as kind of we've pushed through kind of this double brokering season where there has been a lot of fraud, most freight brokers will require GPS tracking. They're just going to go ahead and send a link over to your driver's cell phone, or might use their ELD, the truck's ELD, to track the load. Sometimes, if you, let's say the tracking goes out mid load and you don't update it, or you don't like kind of fix that, some brokers may charge you kind of this fee for disconnecting, or they might just refuse to pay you, and that's just on that rate confirmation, and it'll be in your agreement. So you do want to look over that agreement. Carrier packet as well. It might be listed on your carrier packet. They might tell you how exactly how much to deduce, and then that rate confirmation might also have those details on, like, you will be charged $100 if you disconnect. So that is this section. I'll see you in the next video. Guide to Freight has partnered with DAT Loadboard to give all of our viewers 10% off their Loadboard subscription for a year. With this deal, you can see annual savings of up to $474. If you're interested in signing up, you can do so by clicking on the link tree in our channel bio. So, hey everyone, in this video, I'll be walking you through the common invoicing documents so that you can have some familiarity on these documents and or have a video to reference if you're ever in need of figuring out kind of information pertaining to these documents. So 2 documents that will always be required for billing are the rate confirmation, so this guy over here, and the bill of lading, this one over here, the white one. I have created kind of two documents that kind of will look similar to how they would in real life, but they are fake documents. So on the left-hand side, or here in blue, we have the rate confirmation, and then white is the bill of lading. The rate confirmation is basically a contract agreement between the brokerage and the carrier, kind of stating how much you'll be paid by the broker and additional details on the load. And the BOL is a proof of delivery. So it's also known as a BOL, POD, proof of delivery, basically stating, hey, we received this load and this was what was on it. And There are other documents. So aside from the rate confirmation and the bill of lading, you might also run into scale tickets, lumper receipts. You might also have a short form BOL that you sign yourself or that you create yourself instead of the BOL that comes directly from the site, from the shipper. Um, and I'll walk you through how to fill those out after we go through these two documents right here. So let's get started. So on this blue document, this is what the rate confirmation kind of will look like. Usually the rate confirmation isn't more than uh, a couple pages long. There are some instances where you might see a rate confirmation that is one or two pages long, but it's usually because they're just trying to kind of accommodate more information there. So left-hand side, we have the name of the brokerage, Future Freight Forwarders, and then we have a BOL number. So this XR-2317290 is a direct call over to this BOL number. So it's basically saying this rate confirmation goes with this BOL, okay? On the right-hand side, you'll have the agent's contact information, as well as invoice submission and accounts payable information. So, for example, if my factoring company wants to bill future freight forwarders, they can either mail it in physically or they can go through AP at Freight Forward to send that in electronically. Okay, so beneath that you have a PO reference and pro number. Typically, typically they're the same number across these three different types. So PO, reference, and pro typically mean the same thing. Though there are instances where there are multiple reference numbers or a PO number and a reference number and a pro number. But this number is created by the freight brokerage and usually through their kind of TMS software system. Okay, so where the BOL number is created by the shipping facility and their system. So beneath that, we have this section here that covers the equipment, accessorials, commodity, and carrier information, as well as has a delivery note. So equipment type, we have reefer expedited right here. So that just refers to a refrigerated load as well as an expedited load, which means that it's kind of necessary for an overnight or needs to be delivered ASAP or direct. And then beneath that, you have truck trailer, which is 26 foot, referring to the size of the trailer. Reefer, referring to needing a refrigerated unit, and box, referring to a box truck. And then in the center, we have accessorials. So accessorials, we have layover pickup 250, so PU meaning pickup, which basically means you got to the site, you had an agreed upon time to load. For whatever reason, the shipping facility was not able to do that, so you had to stay the night at the facility. Woke up, got loaded, but you're getting paid this quantity by the shipping facility. The freight broker needs to add that to your load. So typically, this is added through an updated rate confirmation. And then you have lumper reimbursal of 100, which means that at some point, either loading or unloading, you had to pay the lumper out of pocket. A lumper is kind of, an employee at the site that loads and unloads pallets. So it sounds like in this situation, the lumper reimbursal, your driver had to pay it, and you probably got a receipt, and you'll need a copy of that receipt in order to qualify for that lumper reimbursal. Unless the freight broker paid it, you were able to call him and have him pay it, in which case it won't be on your rate confirmation. And then you should have a driver unload fee. Or the next one is the driver unload fee, which is $210. Basically, stating that since your driver had to load or unload the shipment, you've been given a surcharge or extra money for that service. So in this case, $210. All right, so right here we should see commodity. Commodity refers to what exactly it is we're carrying. In this case, we have pepperoni, miscellaneous cheeses. Let's see if I can zoom in here a little. Oops. Pizza dough, pallets. Pallets is kind of the square things that they're mounted on, made out of wood. So it's 8 of them. Total weight of the load is 9,000 pounds, and it's set at 12 degrees, right? And then we have carrier information. So that's my information or the name of the company that's been hired to do this move. In this case, we have electric freight. They've got our MC number. Contact information if something goes wrong is me. So we got Yadi Garcia phone number, which isn't real, and then this made up email address as well. And then we have the driver information. So in this case, my driver's name is Julio Hernandez, phone number listed there, and then truck and trailer number. So because it's a box truck, the truck and trailer number is we only have one because it's a combined unit. If I had a semi and a trailer, we would have a number that's specific for the front portion of the truck, so the semi, and then a number that references the actual trailer. Okay. So in the delivery notes, we have reefer needed at 12 degrees. So just listing that we need a refrigerated unit at 12 degrees. Liftgate pallet jack for delivery. Again, when you are delivering to a site that is not like a warehouse, typically you do need to have the liftgate and pallet jack on hand. That's pretty common for box trucks, especially if they're going to a mom and pop location. You have this strict pickup appointment at 5 p.m. So no exceptions, basically meaning you have to be there, no exceptions. And then tracking required. So that is when you get a macro point link or some sort of tracking link, GPS tracking link. So no track fee is usually like if it's interrupted at some point or you refuse straight up to be tracked, you'll usually be charged on the rate confirmation. Sometimes it can be more than that actually. And then lumper at shipper needs receipt for reimbursal. So basically, it just means if you want to get paid back for that lumper that you paid off at the shipping facility, you need to have proof that you paid them. So origin refers to where we picked up. So this would be the shipper, quote unquote. And then we've got Sugar's Fantastical Pizza Supplies. Got an address of 1515 Maybach Drive in Dallas, Texas. Information on that warehouse facility. So it looks like it looks like we were set to pick up 2/9, February 9th. And these are the hours of operations and a contact information from Mr. Sugar Garcia. Typically, they have this information listed just in case the driver gets to the site and has like and is struggling to find kind of like the check-in zone, or let's say he gets there at like 5:50 and needs the someone on site to stay a little bit longer, kind of that kind of deal. So in this case, it lists the pickup PO, which is right here. It references the broker's uh, invoice number, pickup or order number, and then it lists strict appointment at 5 p.m. for the pickup and a delivery note that says that the lumper will be reimbursed with receipt. So we should anticipate having to pay someone for that. So destination, we've got Joey's Pizza Palace, 210 Santa Monica Circle in KCMO, not a real address. And we have delivery information. So delivery date, February 12th. Hours of operation, 8 a.m. to 10. We've got Mr. Joey's contact info. And then we have the PO reference again. Uh, this right here, FCFS, means first come, first serve, which means that there is no delivery appointment. So it's an order of arrival, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., right? Delivery note is driver must unload, needs liftgate and pallet jack. So because this is a mom and pop, right? Joey's Pizza Palace is not a warehouse. They do not have warehouse employees. No one's coming, no employees coming out to unload the truck, which is why you're getting paid this unload fee, as well as why you're being required to have a liftgate and pallet jack. So finally, and I don't know if I can move my head. Let's move this over. And I don't know if you've been able to see it all. Um, so now you should see this section right here that references the base rate. Base rate is everything you've agreed upon prior to taking the load, right? So hi, everyone. I hope you're finding this series to be helpful. In the event that you need further assistance, you can book a one-on-one consultation with me by clicking the link tree in the channel bio. You can also visit guidetofreight.com and select the book a consultation option from the menu. I'll let you get back to your video. Like, you typically negotiate the base rate, and then these accessorials are everything that's been added upon afterwards, or are on top of the base rate. So in this case, the driver unload fee has not been included into the rate, and it's been added on top, as well as the lumper reimbursal, which is probably which has been added through an updated rate confirmation, and the layover pickup of 250, meaning that when you originally showed up to the site, you probably had zero idea what the exact lumper amount would be, and had zero idea what the pickup, what you'd be paid off, that the pickup wouldn't be able to go through, or that you would have a layover, right? So typically when you have these layovers or lumper reimbursals, you want to go ahead and request an updated rate confirmation. And then just one last thing there. Um, when you're submitting that to your factoring company, you do want to make sure that you're submitting the latest rate confirmation. You do not have to submit the original rate confirmation. You want to submit the one that includes all of your charges. It can be a little confusing for everyone involved. And then, of course, we have our freight agent signing off on that. And I signed off on that as well, saying, hey, I agree to all of this. This makes sense to me. This is what I'm getting paid to do. So it's a little contract, right? That is basically what a rate confirmation is. It's listing all of the important parts of the loads that I am agreeing to, as well as the freight broker is agreeing to. So we both agreed that these are the terms that I'm getting paid for. And then on the right hand side, we have the fake BOL that I created, not real. Let's see. Okay, so my face is right here. So date 210. So again, because I ended up picking up the next day, I've added the BOL wasn't generated until the next day, right? For whatever reason, Sugar's Fantastical Pizza Supplies unable to unload me, or unable to load me on our original date. So the BOL is printed for the next day. Now, typically, you shouldn't have any issue, but if you do, your factoring company is like, hey, this doesn't match the information listed on the rate confirmation, just reach out to your freight broker and have them update that and let them know what's going on. And then basically all of this information should match over into the rate confirmation, right? So this is proof that this was done, right? So ship from origin, ship to destination, 3PL or third party freight charges, your freight brokerage. Um, Important part here. And so double brokering is a big deal, or something that happens a bit in transportation. I don't think anyone's proud of that. But a good way to tell that you might be on a double brokering load is if you get to the site and third party freight charges reference a whole different brokerage. Um, and then you might be like, hey, I wonder if Future Freight Forwarders is legit, or and if they're going to pay me out for this load. So um, goes without saying that before you take a load from any broker, you should be doing it. You should be running a credit check through your factoring company just to make sure that they're a legitimate company. Okay. And then right here, we have just a description of what's on board, right? As well as every bill of lading needs a signature at the shipping facility stating, hey, everything that is loaded should be loaded, and like this matches up, right? If not, they'll like cross something off of the list and sign by the things that they're updating. And then received, Joey Romano, receiver is saying, hey, I did get this. Okay. And then this information here. Now, it's not always going to be the same. Every bill of lading looks different. And then you have carrier signature. Mr. Julio, our driver, is like, hey, yep, I did this. This is real. And then up here, top right, we have page one of. So bill of ladings can be multiple pages, can be like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 pages, 5 pages. It varies. So if this says page 1 of 20, in order to get paid for this load, you need to submit all 20 pages of the bill of lading. Typically, they're just listing like SKU numbers and quantities and what's inside the pallet. So this Happy Farms bulk pizza dough might be there might be two pallets, right? Two pallets, but there might be like hundreds of packages, small packages, and so each SKU number might be listed individually. As so, kind of same thing goes for Giordano's Peppiest pepperoni and this miscellaneous cheese, right? So up here you have this bill of lading number, referencing again this rate confirmation. So should be the same. And then third party freight charges, basically just meaning, hey, we're billing or this is being paid directly to future freight forwarders. And then you have this pro number, again, BOL and our carrier name. Now, sometimes that information is not going to be on there, especially if, let's say, the freight broker didn't give that information to the shipper. Nothing to worry about, okay? So that is what that looks like. Now, if you do not get a bill of lading at site, do not take the load, please, unless you have a short form BOL stack on you. So I will go ahead and link this in the description of the video. And of course, every time you select a link with one of our partners, we get paid, or I get paid. It just helps me be able to continue to make free content for everyone. So support it, please. But this one should be about $10. Should be a stack of 50. Now, if you can't buy it in advance, you should be able to buy this like at a Staples or at an Office Depot. And essentially, they're these kind of ready-made stacks of bill of ladings. Kind of tear off. It's kind of that what's it called? Kind of like what's in those checkbooks where you write the information and then you tear off the sheet and then there's like 2 or 3 copies underneath that. Similar deal there. But yeah, basically you're gonna have to fill out that information by yourself when you get to the site, and so just make sure it matches. You want to have the basic information like what is on this load, um, who we are, the carrier, um, where you picked it up, where you're delivering it to, who it's being billed to, date, kind of weight, general weight, and then the most important part is you want to make sure that this is signed by the shipper and by the receiver, right? And then we have the carrier signature as well, and dated, right? You want to make sure that that's dated. Now, give me one sec. So I just want to kind of reiterate the reason why a short form BOL is important and why you shouldn't be taking a load. Like if you get to the site and they're like, hey, we don't have a bill of lading, we're just going to sign on the rate confirmation. Red flag, do not take the load. If you do not have a short form BOL, you need a POD of some sort. You would not be the first nor the last carrier to fall victim to that. It happens all the time. It's happened to me and I've known it, right? Like I've known this, and I'm like, well, this time the freight broker said that it would be okay, and then like I build this out to the factoring company. Factoring company is like, hey, we just approved this with the freight broker, it's fine, and then the freight broker never pays for it. It's awful, but it happens, right? So you just want to make sure that do not accept signatures on this rate confirmation. Do not take a load without a bill of lading, even if that bill of lading is a handmade bill of lading. Okay. It's so much better to have a short form BOL because it's basically a BOL, especially if it's being signed off on. So I recommend that every driver have a short form stack on deck. Give me one second. Have a short form stack on deck. And again, I will provide the link to that in the description. Shouldn't be more than $10 for a stack of 50, and you shouldn't need more than 4 or 5 per year. It's not like this normal occurrence that like you get to a site and there's no bill of lading provided. It's a little rare actually, but it happens. And it happens it happens enough that you need a stack of these just in case, unless you just want to back away from the load altogether, or you want to be like, hey, give me 1 second, let me run to Office Depot and pick these up. Side note, also, sometimes what happens is like maybe the printer's down at the shipping facility. So they're like, it's not necessarily that they don't have a bill of lading, it's that they don't have a capability of printing it out. So either way, you need a short form when that happens. Do not take a load unless you're trying to drive hundreds of miles and never get paid for that load. Okay, so I will link that in the description. So give me 1 second. I just want to show you some other documents that you might come across. So big one is that lumper, and then the other one is this way station ticket. I believe the way station ticket. Sorry, this is poor quality. I pulled it off of Google. I didn't have I didn't have an example, so you can't really see. But sometimes you'll be asked to get a way station ticket at these CAT scales. I believe the charge is usually like $10. But if a broker requires it and you want to get reimbursed, you want to make sure that you keep this CAT scale ticket. And if you are on a load that is requiring a CAT scale ticket, they most likely want you to send this in anyways, so that you can get paid for the load, regardless of if you paid anything for that CAT scale. And then finally, we have this lumper receipt. So lumper receipts, again, this one is for our fake rate confirmation. Let me pull it up side by side real quick. All right, there we go. So this is for our fake, or this I guess matches up with my fake rate con, right? So this lumper was at the shipper, which in this case is Sugar's Fantastical Pizza Supplies. Um, And we have a lumper reimbursable of $100. This is the receipt. We need that in order to get paid by the broker. If I submit everything but the lumper receipt, I'm not going to get paid $25.60. I'm going to get paid $24.60, and I'm going to be out $100. Okay. So typically, the shipper, receiver, wherever you had this lumper, is going to provide you with this if you paid for it out of pocket. There are situations where you get to the shipping facility or the receiver and there is a lumper charge, and maybe you're able to call your freight broker and be like, hey, actually there's this charge here, can you pay it for me real quick? And they will do that. The reason why there isn't like this set lumper quantity, or it's added afterwards through like an updated rate confirmation, is because these rates are subject to change. I mean, you can have the same load and have a lumper for 100 one day and lumper for 250 the next. So just make sure you keep that and do not lose it. And then of course, that I think those are all the documents that you'll typically run into. So if you have any questions, let me know. You can send me an email and I'll create another video to go along with it if there's another document that you're maybe just not familiar with. That being said, that sums up kind of the most common documents that you'll need. So just to reiterate, you will need a rate confirmation and a BOL, POD to get paid on loads that you do. So you have that contract and the proof that the contract was completed. Guide to Freight has partnered with Gulf Coast Bank to provide all of our viewers with a factoring rate of 2% or less. Unlike traditional factoring companies, Gulf Coast is entirely self-funded, meaning that they are able to pass these savings along to their customers. If you're interested in signing up, you can do so by clicking the link tree in our channel bio.